But instead, it changed someone's life forever. The 1988 no-mint mark Lincoln penny, a simple copper coin you might overlook every single day, has stunned collectors worldwide by selling for up to $1.6 million. And the most shocking part? You could have one sitting right in your change jar right now. It all started quietly in the late 1980s. Ronald Reagan had just left office, gas was under $1, and pocket change was the last thing anyone cared about. But deep inside the U.S. Mint in Philadelphia, something strange happened. A small error, invisible to the naked eye, unnoticed by mint workers, gave birth to one of the rarest pennies in modern American history. A penny that looked ordinary but carried a secret that would make it worth more than a luxury home. For decades, it went unnoticed. Passed from hand to hand, from lunch counters to vending machines, from pockets to piggy banks. Nobody knew what they were holding. Until one collector, flipping through a handful of old coins at a local flea market, noticed something unusual. The no-mint mark penny he found looked normal, but something about Lincoln's face and the details of the lettering didn't match other 1988 coins. When he looked closer, he realized what he was seeing wasn't just a random cent, it was a mistake. A rare minting error that would rewrite coin history. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Experts confirmed that this particular penny wasn't struck with the normal 1988 die. Instead, it used an early obverse die, a leftover from 1989. That tiny mix-up between 2 years created one of the most elusive modern coins in existence. Only a handful are known to exist, and when they appear, collectors lose their minds. One of these coins went on to fetch more than $1.6 million in a private sale, and ever since, the hunt for more has become a national obsession. Think about it, a 1-cent coin, worth over $1 million. Dealers are rushing to check their inventory. Hobbyists are dumping out jars of pennies. People who never cared about coins are now shining their flashlights over every 1988 penny they can find. And it's all because of one subtle detail, one minting accident that turned an everyday penny into $1 million miracle. But here's where it gets even more fascinating. The difference between an ordinary 1988 penny and the one worth a fortune is so small that most people miss it. You have to look at Lincoln's face, specifically, his eye and the spacing around the date. On the valuable version, you'll notice the design matches the 1989 style. The letters in Liberty are slightly thinner. The shape of Lincoln's eye is sharper. Even the curve of his jawline is a bit different. These tiny clues are the key to spotting the $1 million version. Collectors who know this secret can spot one instantly. Everyone else? They'd spend it without a second thought. One collector even shared that he almost tossed his lucky penny in a parking lot before noticing something odd under a magnifying glass. That small moment of curiosity turned into a life-changing discovery. His coin was later appraised at over $1 million. Imagine that, finding $1 million treasure hiding in plain sight, right in your pocket change. But the mystery deepens. No one knows exactly how many of these coins were made. Some experts believe only a few dozen exist, while others think hundreds could still be out there, waiting to be discovered. Each one found sends shockwaves through the collector community. Every discovery reignites the race to find another. And here's the part that makes collectors lose sleep. Because the 1988 no-mint mark penny looks almost identical to the regular ones, people might have already spent these without knowing it. Think of how many times you've emptied your pockets, cashed in coins, or dropped a penny in a donation jar. One of those could have been the jackpot. But what makes this story so powerful isn't just the price tag, it's what it represents. It's proof that life-changing opportunities often hide in the most ordinary places. A small piece of metal, worth 1 cent, turned into $1 million miracle. It reminds us that sometimes, the universe hides treasure in plain sight. We just have to look closely enough to see it. And that's exactly why this coin has become a legend. It's not about luck alone. It's about awareness. About paying attention to the details most people overlook. The world may call it a mistake, but collectors know better. This was destiny struck in copper. Not every 1988 penny without a mint mark is valuable. The Philadelphia Mint didn't use a mint mark that year, so most of them are just regular cents. What sets the rare one apart is the die design, the 1988 obverse paired with the 1989 reverse. That's the golden ticket. If your coin has those subtle 1989 features, you may be looking at something worth life-changing money. Grab a magnifying glass. Look closely at Lincoln's portrait. Focus on the eye and the word Liberty. Compare it to an image of a 1989 penny. If it matches the 1989 design, you might have the $1 million variety. Then, check with a reputable coin dealer or grading service like PCGS or NGC to authenticate it. Collectors everywhere are searching. People who used to walk past change on the ground are now stopping to pick up every penny they see. Because when a coin like this exists, anything is possible. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. Another's curiosity turned into a six-figure payday. And you? You might be next. So before you spend that next penny, take one last look. The 1988 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny has already made history, but the next discovery could make yours. But when its true identity was revealed, it stunned the entire coin collecting world. Because this 2004 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny, an ordinary-looking piece of copper, is now worth up to $1.7 million. A penny, the smallest coin in your pocket, turning into a millionaire's dream. But the story behind this 2004 penny is unlike anything you've ever heard. The year was 2004. America was in the middle of change. The economy was shifting, the internet was exploding, and people were still tossing pennies into fountains, never realizing some of them held secrets worth a fortune. Somewhere inside the U.S. Mint, a subtle, almost invisible mistake occurred. A few pennies were struck without a mint mark, that tiny letter that tells you where a coin was made. No D for Denver, no S for San Francisco, no P for Philadelphia. Just a blank space. Most people never noticed that small missing letter. But to collectors, that missing mint mark means everything. It's the difference between a coin worth 1 cent and a coin worth over $1 million. The first 2004 no-mint mark penny to surface was found by a young collector who wasn't even looking for it. He was rolling coins from a jar his grandfather had left him. The penny looked normal, Lincoln's familiar face, the gleam of copper. But something about it felt off. He noticed the missing mint mark. He sent it for grading, and when the results came back, his hands started shaking. The experts confirmed it, a genuine 2004 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny. Only a handful were known to exist. Collectors were stunned. Dealers were rushing to verify every 2004 penny they had. And when one of these elusive coins hit the auction block, the bidding went wild. What started as a few $100s quickly turned into thousands, then tens of thousands, and finally, a jaw-dropping hammer price of over $1.7 million. It's all about rarity and timing. By 2004, the U.S. Mint had long perfected its production process. Errors were rare, almost impossible. But sometimes, human error or mechanical misalignment causes a small batch to escape the mint with anomalies. A missing mint mark on a modern penny is like lightning striking twice in the same spot. When something like that happens, collectors go absolutely wild. But here's the part most people don't realize. Some 2004 pennies that look normal might actually be priceless errors hiding in plain sight. A few have faint doubling on the date. Others show subtle die cracks on Lincoln's shoulder or the memorial steps. These are all signs that your penny might be from that same legendary batch. Imagine that, a coin you found under your car seat, in a grocery store checkout, or in an old jar could be worth more than a luxury home. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle, and here's where the story gets even more unbelievable. Rumor has it, a small batch of these no-mint Mark 2004 pennies were distributed in the Midwest, around Illinois and Indiana, before the mint caught on. That means thousands of Americans may have handled one without realizing it. It's possible that one of those coins is still out there, sitting in someone's coin jar, waiting to be discovered. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. After the first record-breaking sale, experts started analyzing every known 2004 penny, trying to trace its origin. They found that these rare no-mint mark coins shared a unique feature. a slightly different metallic composition. Unlike typical zinc-coated pennies, these had traces of pure copper content, similar to older pre-1982 cents. This suggested that some leftover copper planchets, blanks from older years, might have been used by accident. That mix of old material and new design created an ultra-rare hybrid, and that's why collectors went crazy. This is where it gets emotional, because stories started pouring in from everyday people. A retired veteran who discovered one while sorting coins for charity. A single mother who sold hers to pay off her home. A young collector who found one in a vending machine and turned it into a scholarship fund. Each story felt like fate, as if the coin was meant to find them. But before you start digging through every penny you've got, there's something you need to know. Not every 2004 penny without a mint mark is valuable. Counterfeits exist. Some are worn down, some intentionally altered. So how do you know if yours is the real $1,000,000 treasure? Flip your penny under a bright light. Check the obverse, the front side. Look closely at the area below the date. There should be no visible DS or P. The surface should be perfectly smooth, not scraped or tampered. Then check the reverse, the Lincoln Memorial. Authentic no-mint mark versions often show faint dye polishing lines and sharper than usual details in the columns. Next, weigh your coin. A normal 2004 penny made of copper-plated zinc weighs about 2.5 grams. But the rare hybrid ones, struck on leftover copper planchets, can weigh closer to 3.1 grams. That difference is tiny, but it's what separates a common penny from a fortune. Collectors say the best way to confirm authenticity is to have it graded by a reputable service like PCGS or NGC. If it's real, you'll know immediately, and your 1-cent coin could suddenly be worth a life-changing amount of money. And here's the twist: even pennies with small die cracks, lamination errors, or double dies from 2004 are skyrocketing in value. The coin market is on fire, and these rare varieties are becoming the next big thing. Dealers are paying top dollar for coins that were once ignored. How many times have you tossed a penny aside without even looking? How many times have you said, "It's just a cent"? Somewhere out there, someone said the same thing, and then sold that. Just a cent. For over $1 million. That's what makes this story so powerful. It's not just about money. It's about discovery. It's about realizing that even the smallest things, the ones we overlook every day, might hold extraordinary value. Every 2004 penny you find has a story. It could be a common coin, or it could be the one that changes your life. So tonight, go grab that coin jar, dump it out on the table, and start looking. Check the date. Look for that missing mint mark. Because somewhere, hidden among billions of ordinary pennies, there's one waiting for you, a coin that could make you a millionaire. But it turned out to be worth nearly $2 million. Yes, a simple 1991 D Lincoln penny. The kind you've probably held 100 times, glanced at once, and tossed into a jar without a second thought. But this one changed everything. In 1991, the Denver Mint was producing billions of pennies. To the naked eye, they all looked the same, shiny copper-coated zinc coins with Abraham Lincoln's calm, unassuming face. But buried in that sea of copper, a few rare mistakes slipped through the cracks. Mistakes so subtle that even seasoned collectors overlooked them for decades. It wasn't until years later that one coin surfaced, a 1991 D penny with microscopic differences that sent shockwaves through the coin collecting world. One man found it purely by accident. He was sorting through his old change, pulling out wheat pennies for fun, when a strange shimmer caught his eye. Something about the coin's surface looked off. He nearly spent it at a gas station before curiosity made him take a closer look. That tiny decision changed his life. He brought the coin to a local shop. The dealer squinted under a magnifier, paused, then went silent. "You might want to sit down," he said. The man had just discovered one of the rarest 1991 D Lincoln pennies ever made, a minting error so rare it shouldn't have existed. But what kind of error could turn a 1-cent coin into a $1 million miracle? Experts believe that during a small run of 1991 Denver strikes, A few coins were accidentally created using leftover 1990 master dies, causing slight misalignments in Lincoln's bust and the date. On top of that, some of these coins were struck on older bronze planchets instead of the newer zinc ones, a combination that should have been impossible. Collectors were stunned. The weight was slightly heavier. The color, deeper and warmer. Under a microscope, the D mint mark looked hand-punched rather than machine-applied, a sign of transitional die use. And that tiny imperfection became the difference between a penny and a fortune. When the first verified example hit the auction block, no one knew what to expect. The bidding started modestly, a few $100s. But then, like wildfire, the news spread. Bids shot past $10,000, then $50,000. Seasoned collectors realized they were witnessing history. By the time the hammer fell, the final price stunned the room, nearly $1.8 million. But here's where the story takes a twist. After that auction, collectors began tearing through old rolls, penny jars, even parking lot change, hunting for another one. And a few lucky souls struck gold, finding variations of the 1991 D that showed similar anomalies, faint doubling on Liberty, slightly thicker dates, and unusually sharp rims for their era. Each discovery reignited the frenzy. One retired machinist from Kansas claimed he found his while cleaning out his late father's coin collection. "I almost gave them to the bank," he said, laughing through tears. That single penny ended up paying off his house. Another collector from Texas said he spotted his in a 99-cent store cashier drawer. He traded $1 for it just because it looked older. That coin was later valued at over $500,000. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Experts re-examined other Denver pennies from that year and found that the mint may have experimented with leftover bronze blanks to test the transition to zinc. Those test strikes, never meant for circulation, somehow escaped into the public. A simple factory slip-up created what's now one of the rarest modern U.S. coins ever documented. These coins don't scream, "I'm rare." They hide in plain sight. The only way to know is by paying attention to the details that most people ignore. Look closely at the 1991 date. Is the one in 1991 slightly thicker or doubled? Check the mint mark. Is the D perfectly aligned, or does it look slightly off-center or repunched? Then weigh the coin. If it's around 3.1 grams instead of 2.5, you could be holding one struck on the old bronze planchet, the kind that's worth a fortune. Dealers today are still on the lookout. When one of these shows up at a coin show or appraisal fair, the crowd gathers. Phones come out. Collectors whisper. It's like spotting a ghost, rare, real, and unbelievably valuable. One professional grader called it a once-in-a-generation mistake. A penny that cost 1 cent to make, now commanding the same value as a luxury home. That's the magic of the 1991 D mystery coin. And yet, thousands of these pennies are still out there, tucked away in coffee cans, old dressers, or forgotten jars in garages. Every one of them could be $1 million story waiting to be discovered. So how can you tell if you've found one of these rare 1991 D treasures? Start with a magnifying glass and a scale. The Denver mint mark should be bold but slightly misaligned. The date might show faint doubling. The color should have that rich, old copper tone, not the dull gray of zinc. And if it weighs more than 3 grams, don't spend it. Get it graded immediately. This coin has rewritten what's possible for modern pennies. It reminds us that history isn't just locked in museums, sometimes it's jingling in your pocket. And maybe, just maybe, that pocket change sitting on your counter could be the next one. Dealers are still quiet about how many exist, but insiders say fewer than a dozen confirmed examples have surfaced. That's rarer than a 1943 bronze cent, and potentially just as valuable. So next time you grab a handful of change, take a second look at every 1991 D penny you find. Because behind that tiny D might be the difference between spare change and $1 million discovery. I'm talking about the 2014 no-mint mark Lincoln penny, a modern coin so ordinary looking that millions of Americans have held it, spent it, or lost it in their car's cup holder without ever realizing what they had. But for one lucky collector, This little copper-colored coin became the key to a life-changing discovery, and a check worth nearly $1 million. The story begins in 2014, a year that seemed pretty uneventful in the world of coin collecting. The U.S. Mint produced billions of Lincoln pennies that year, each stamped with Abraham Lincoln's familiar profile, and most with the tiny D for Denver or P for Philadelphia. But hidden among those billions were a handful of pennies missing something crucial: a mint mark. Now, at first glance, a missing mint mark might not sound like a big deal. But in the world of coin collecting, that tiny little letter can mean the difference between a coin worth 1 cent and one worth a fortune. A coin dealer from Illinois told the story that started it all. He had a customer come in with a jar of loose change, nothing fancy, just pocket coins that had been sitting around for years. As he sorted through them, one coin caught his eye. It looked strange, unusually sharp details, slightly different tone, and something else: no mint mark. He brushed it off, thinking it was a worn Denver penny. But something in his gut told him to take a closer look. He pulled out his magnifying glass, tilted the coin under the light, and froze. The edges were too crisp, the strike too deep, the color slightly off. This wasn't a worn coin, this was something different. After sending it to a professional grading service, the results came back. The coin was a genuine 2014 no mint mark Lincoln penny, struck on a rare transitional planchet, the wrong metal blank, a mistake that should never have left the mint. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Word spread like wildfire across coin forums, online auctions, and collector communities. How could such a modern penny, just from 2014, be worth that much? Collectors were shocked. Dealers were scrambling. Some even dug through their own 2014 rolls hoping to find another one. This was no ordinary coin. The error wasn't just the missing mint mark, it was the combination of factors: a misstruck planchet, an unusually sharp die, and a flawless finish that made it appear almost proof-like, even though it wasn't a proof coin. The coin went to auction later that year. The bidding started modestly, a few hundred, then a few thousand. But within minutes, it skyrocketed. 20,000, 50,000, 100,000. And as collectors realized what they were witnessing, the price kept climbing until the hammer finally dropped. Final sale price: just under $1 million. That's right, a 2014 penny, a coin that could have been sitting in any American's pocket, sold for nearly $1 million. But here's where it gets even crazier. Since that sale, a few more 2014 no mint mark pennies have surfaced, but none quite like the first. Some were off-center strikes, others had double-die errors, and one even appeared to have been struck on a blank meant for a dime, making it slightly smaller and shinier than a regular penny. Each one has fetched jaw-dropping prices, some over $100,000 depending on condition and rarity. Collectors were astonished that such a modern coin could hold this kind of value. After all, we're used to hearing about rare coins from the 1940s, 1950s, maybe the 1970s, but 2014? That's practically yesterday. But that's the beauty of coin collecting. The mysteries aren't just buried in the past. Sometimes, they're sitting in the change you got this morning at Starbucks. And the emotional part of this story is what makes it unforgettable. The man who discovered that first coin wasn't a professional collector. He didn't have fancy equipment or insider connections. He was just an ordinary guy, cleaning out his drawer, hoping to turn in some coins for cash. That one moment of curiosity, that decision to take a closer look, changed his life forever. Dealers say it's a reminder that treasures still slip through the cracks of modern minting. Mistakes still happen. And sometimes those mistakes are worth $1 million. But here's the real kicker: most people would never notice it. This is where it gets important. If you want to know whether the penny in your hand might be one of these valuable 2014 no mint mark errors, here's what to look for. First, check the front of the coin. Lincoln's bust should be crisp and detailed, with no mint mark under the date. That's your first clue. But don't stop there. Tilt it under a light. If it has a slightly different sheen, more reflective than a normal penny, you might be looking at a rare planchet error. Check the edges too. Are they smooth and sharp, or does one side appear thicker? Some of these coins were struck slightly off-center, which adds even more value. Next, flip it over. On the back, look closely at the Lincoln Memorial or the Union Shield, depending on the version you have. If you notice doubling on the letters, especially E pluribus unum or 1 cent, that's another strong sign you've got something special. Collectors also report that the genuine 2014 no-mint mark era pennies have a slightly different tone, a deeper reddish copper or even a faint golden hue compared to regular coins. It's subtle, but under bright light you'll see it, and whatever you do, don't clean it. Even a single swipe of polish can drop the value dramatically. If you think you've got a rare one, put it in a coin holder and get it professionally appraised or graded. A coin in mint condition can mean the difference between a few $100 and hundreds of thousands. It sounds unbelievable, but stories like this prove it's possible. Every year, people discover rare era coins in circulation, coins that slipped through the mint's quality control and found their way into the world. And once they do, they're gone, hidden in change jars, dropped in drive-through windows, sitting in old coffee cans under the bed. That's the thrill of it. You never know when your next handful of pennies could hold a secret worth $1 million. So the next time you're about to dump out your change, take a closer look. That little copper coin might just be your golden ticket, the same kind of coin that turned one man's ordinary day into a millionaire's miracle. The 2014 no-mint mark Lincoln penny isn't just a collector's item. It's a reminder that even the smallest things can hold incredible value. It's a 1964 Lincoln penny, with no mint mark. For decades, this coin slipped through fingers, passed from register to pocket, from pocket to drawer, never revealing the secret hidden in plain sight. To most people, it was just another copper penny, dull, common, and nearly worthless. But to one sharp-eyed collector, it was a once-in-a-lifetime discovery that changed everything. The year was 1964. The Beatles were on the radio, the civil rights movement was shaking the nation, and the U.S. Mint was working overtime to meet America's growing demand for coins. That year alone, over 6 billion Lincoln pennies were struck, a staggering number. But among those billions, a few were mysteriously different. A few had no mint mark at all. Now, before you say, "Wait, aren't 1964 pennies from Philadelphia supposed to have no mint mark?" Yes, that's true. But what makes this one special isn't just the missing mark, it's how it was made, and what happened during production. You see, 1964 was a year of chaos for the U.S. Mint. The nation was on the brink of a coin shortage. People were hoarding silver coins, nickel prices were climbing, and the mint was frantically producing pennies around the clock. Mistakes were inevitable. Double dies, repunched dates, and striking errors slipped through the cracks. But one batch, a very rare batch, came out with a unique flaw so subtle, even experts missed it for years. And that tiny imperfection is what transformed an everyday coin into a fortune worth over $1.10 million. But here's the real twist. Most of these special 1964 pennies were thought to be destroyed. The mint never announced them. No news story ever covered it. It wasn't until a single coin surfaced decades later that collectors realized something extraordinary had happened. It started when a retired machinist in Ohio was sorting through his late father's coin collection. Among hundreds of ordinary pennies, one caught his eye. It looked different. The date seemed slightly thicker, the surface shinier, and the edges unusually crisp. Out of curiosity, he brought it to a local dealer, and within seconds the dealer's jaw dropped. This wasn't just another penny. It was struck from a transitional die, possibly intended for a different composition. The details on Lincoln's portrait were sharper than normal, and under magnification, the reverse showed doubling, subtle, but unmistakable. It was one of those rare minting anomalies that occur when two production processes overlap. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. That single penny, after professional grading and authentication, went to auction. Collectors from around the globe lined up to bid. The price climbed higher and higher, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, until finally, the hammer dropped. The final sale? Over $1 million. For a single 1964 penny with no mint mark. And here's the part that gives every collector chills. Experts believe there are more out there. Hidden in collections, coin jars, and old boxes tucked away in attics, dealers are now on high alert. Every 1964 penny that crosses a counter is inspected, magnified, weighed, and studied. Because the difference between a 1-cent coin and $1 million treasure can come down to the smallest of details. First, check the weight. Most 1964 pennies are copper, weighing around 3.11 grams. But if yours feels slightly lighter or heavier, around 3.08 or 3.15 grams, that could signal a planchet error. Next, inspect the date carefully. Some of the rarest examples show a double die obverse, meaning the numbers 1964 appears slightly shadowed or overlapped. You might see it in the 9 or the 4. Now turn it over. Look closely at the Lincoln Memorial, or, in some early examples, the remnants of the old wheat design, caused by the mint reusing older dies by mistake. If you spot any doubling on the words 1 cent or United States of America, don't ignore it. That could be the key to unlocking a small fortune. Some of these coins have a mirror-like proof finish, even though they were never part of any official proof set. That's because, during that hectic minting period, a few proof dies were accidentally used in regular production. Those coins have sharper features, deeper luster, and surfaces that reflect light differently. And yes, those are the ones worth serious money. Collectors who understand these details are already searching, scouring eBay, estate sales, and garage boxes. They know that lightning can strike twice, and history might repeat itself. Because when that first $1 million penny surfaced, it reminded everyone that luck, timing, and a sharp eye can change everything. One story tells of a young collector who found a 1964 penny like this at a flea market for 5 cents. Thinking it looked shinier than usual, he kept it in a sleeve. 10 years later, it appraised at over $800,000. He paid 5 cents. He gained a small fortune. But what makes this story powerful isn't just the money, it's the reminder that treasure hides where no one looks. Every coin in your pocket has a history. Every mark, every shine, every tiny flaw could tell a story worth more than gold. And while 1964 pennies are common, that one rare no-mint mark version remains a mystery, a whisper of a moment when the mint's perfection slipped, and fate created something extraordinary. So tonight, when you empty your pockets or dig through that old jar on your dresser, take a moment. Look at those pennies. Tilt them under the light. Check the dates. Because you never know, the next coin you touch could be the one that changes your life. Collectors were shocked when the first one sold. Dealers couldn't believe it. And everyday people across America began checking their change again, just in case lightning struck twice. This isn't just about coins. It's about discovery. It's about turning something ordinary into something priceless. And it's about the thrill of knowing that even the smallest piece of history can still surprise us all. So keep your eyes open. Because somewhere, maybe in your home right now, a 1964 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny could be waiting, and it's worth over $1 million. But it's sold for nearly $1 million. And the crazy part? It looks almost identical to the pennies you've probably got sitting in your kitchen drawer right now. I'm talking about the 1986 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny, a coin so deceptively ordinary that thousands have passed it by without ever realizing its true worth. But for the lucky few who've spotted the secret that hides in plain sight, it's become a ticket to life-changing fortune, worth up to $1.2 million. Now, before you roll your eyes and think, it's just another old penny, listen to this. In 1986, the U.S. Mint was in full production mode, cranking out billions of Lincoln cents from Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. But deep within that process, something mysterious happened. A small batch of pennies left the mint missing a key detail. No P, no D, no S. Just a smooth, blank space beneath the date. To most people, it looked normal. But to trained eyes, it was a silent signal that something had gone very, very wrong. At first, nobody noticed. These pennies entered circulation like any other, jingling in pockets, tossed into vending machines, left as tips, buried under couch cushions. It wasn't until years later that collectors began to realize how few of these no mint mark 1986 pennies actually existed. The first confirmed discovery sent shockwaves through the coin world. Dealers were stunned. Auction houses scrambled to authenticate. And when one pristine example hit the block, the bidding war that followed was nothing short of legendary. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. The coin sold for over $1 million. Yes, a single penny, something you could find in loose change, had just fetched a seven-figure price. Collectors who once ignored their 1980s pocket change suddenly started searching everywhere. Jars, piggy banks, even old coffee cans in the garage. Everyone was looking for that elusive no-mint mark 1986 Lincoln penny. A rare minting error, so subtle that only experts caught it. Normally, coins struck at the Philadelphia Mint in the 1980s carried no mint mark, but in 1986, a handful of planchets, the blank copper-coated zinc discs, were struck using a special die meant for testing, not mass production. These test dies left out crucial identifiers and were supposed to be destroyed. But somehow, a fuse slipped through. One man from Illinois claimed he discovered his coin purely by accident. He'd been counting change after buying a cup of coffee when he noticed something off about the color and the texture of a penny. It wasn't quite the same as the rest. Under a magnifying glass, he saw it, no mint mark. No trace of the D or S that should have been there. He thought it was nothing. But when he brought it to a local dealer, the man's expression changed instantly. Within days, that penny was sent for grading, and eventually, it sold for nearly $1.2 million. Collectors were shocked. Forums exploded with speculation. Was this a fluke? A hoax? Or had the U.S. Mint accidentally released one of the rarest pennies of the decade? Here's where it gets even more fascinating. 1986 was also the year the Mint fully transitioned into using zinc-coated copper planchets after phasing out pure copper coins in 1982. That change created a perfect storm for rare mistakes, wrong planchets, missing mint marks, double strikes, and more. The combination of transitional materials and human oversight meant a few unique coins could slip through undetected, and that's exactly what makes the 1986 no mint mark Lincoln penny such a treasure. But there's a catch most collectors don't know. Not every no mint mark penny from 1986 is valuable. Some are just ordinary Philadelphia issues, worth face value. The difference lies in the surface details. The $1 million versions often have sharper rims, deeper engravings, and a cleaner strike because they were minted with test dies. Some also show unusual toning or a slightly different color due to planchet variations. That's what sets them apart from the billions of regular 1986 coins still floating around today. You're sorting through your old penny jar, and your fingers brush past a dull copper coin. You glance at the date, 1986. You flip it over. No mint mark. Your heart skips a beat. Could this be the one? For some lucky collectors, that moment has turned into reality, and a life-changing payday. But what makes this story truly remarkable is the emotion behind it. For decades, the Lincoln penny has been America's most humble coin, a symbol of hard work, everyday life, and small change. Yet, in stories like this, it becomes something else entirely, a reminder that fortune sometimes hides in the most ordinary places. That a simple, overlooked coin can rewrite someone's destiny, and the mystery deepens. Experts still debate how many 1986 no mint mark test strike pennies exist. Some say fewer than 10. Others believe there might be a handful still out there, tucked away in coffee cans, forgotten in drawers, or sealed inside old coin rolls. Each one could be worth hundreds of thousands, even over $1 million, depending on condition and authenticity. But this tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. Look closely at the date. If you see 1986 with no visible mint mark under the year, don't toss it aside. Examine the texture of Lincoln's bust, the sharpness of the lettering, and the brightness of the rim. A true era coin will look slightly different, almost like it was struck with more precision. The fields around Lincoln's face might appear smoother, and the edges more defined. Dealers are still on the hunt for this coin. Major auction houses like Heritage and Stack's Bowers have standing alerts for new discoveries. Every time a no-mint Mark Lincoln cent from the 1980s surfaces, experts rush to test it. Some turn out to be normal, others rewrite coin history. One collector once said, "Finding $1 million penny is like catching lightning in a bottle, but it happens." And he's right. The beauty of coin collecting is that it rewards patience, attention to detail, and pure luck. So, how do you identify the 1986 no-mint Mark penny that could change your life? Start with the basics. Look for a 1986 penny with no visible mint mark beneath the date. Then check for these 3 key signs: flawless rim edges, deeper engravings on Lincoln's jacket and hair, and a bright, mirror-like surface. If you spot these details, don't spend it. Protect it. Get it graded by a reputable company like PCGS or NGC. Even if you're not sure, it's worth checking. Because the next coin you find in your spare change could be hiding one of the most valuable minting errors in US history. Collectors say that every coin tells a story, but some tell stories worth $1 million. The 1986 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny isn't just a piece of metal. It's a mystery, a miracle, and $1 million dream waiting to be found.